Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez. Happy Monday, gentlemen.
Happy Monday.
No?
I'm not the downer today?
Monday.
We're in a parallel universe.
Of course, joined by Glenn, Stu, and Jason today. Glenn, what's the top story for you?
Top story today has to be that we are at a crossroads today. Today, I think, is going to be remembered spiritually as a very important day.
All right, Stu.
I have an exciting new bill from Democrats that I'm really excited about, and I want everyone to support.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
Well, that doesn't happen often.
No, I can't think of it ever happening. But in this case, I actually do.
All right, Jason.
When we first started talking about Venezuela, I said look for these three things, and that will tell you if there's going to be regime change or possibly a coup. And I'm just checking off those boxes, and a big one dropped over the weekend.
Oh, yes, it did. Obviously, a lot to get into there. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Cosmo Hertz Kids. So I was just having a discussion with our friend Graham Allen from Rant Nation about just the decline of society and the things that we're allowing our children to watch. We hand them a smartphone and they have access to all of this horrible, terrible stuff. Whereas used to, in history, way back when, in the old days, we had one television in the family room, right? So you saw any kind of entertainment that your kid was taking in, you knew what it was because it was.
You knew when Ginger was coming on the screen and the skipper was not around. You knew all the 12-year-old boys were there.
Yes.
You have no idea what I'm even talking about.
No.
Gilligan's Island.
Oh, right. That one. That was a favorite of mine when I was growing up. But seriously, we give our kids access to all of this awful, depraved material. And that's not what we want to be doing. And sometimes we don't even realize that it's happening. When you look at Cosmo, Cosmopolitan magazine, they have basically pornography all over their magazine, all over the front cover, and we're allowing our children to take it in. So if you want to learn more about a campaign that's trying to stop that, they want the Cosmopolitan magazine to be one of the magazines that it says states that it's harmful to minors. So only the children over the age of 18 can buy it. Well, I guess they're not children, they're adults.
You'll try until 26.
That's right. That's right. So So the children up to age 26, then the adults can purchase this. So Cosmo Hertz Kids is a campaign to make sure that we can let our kids be kids and have adult material stated as adult material. Go to Cosmo Hertz Kids to learn more about this campaign and see how you can help. Glenn.
All right. I think today is going to be remembered as a spiritually very important day. Today, Ben Sasse is putting forth in the Senate a bill that should be very simple. We talked to Ben and said, is there any way this can be construed as an anti-abortion, this is a slippery slope thing? He said it is only about those babies who have been born and those who have had a botched abortion and they're born alive. What do you do? Can you neglect them and can you kill them? It's a yes or no. And I think it's going to pass. They're taking it as of the time we're taping this show. They have not voted. It's supposed to happen tonight. If two things. If the bill is voted down in the Senate, I think we're in deep trouble. I think you're going to see us slide into real turmoil fast because it just shows that our government has crossed the Rubicon of evil. If the Democrats vote against it, but it does pass, good things perhaps for the country far as we have some time. But if the Democrats vote as a bloc against this is evil that we're talking about. You're talking about killing children. And if they vote as a bloc, I think this is akin to the same kind of vote where they took and they said, I denied God 3 times. Do you remember that when they're in their convention a few years ago? And look how different that party was then to the party of today. It moved rapidly towards dark socialism, death, abortion after birth. They moved so rapidly, and that's because they rejected God 3 times. Now, if they reject life of the most innocent, Democrats who are good, decent Democrats, you better hold on, because that thing is going to go dark really fast.
The fact that we even have to have this vote is so insane.
You just took the words out of my mouth.
Boggles my mind.
It's that in 2019, that Glenn has to say, if this passes or if this doesn't pass, that it's actually even a question as to whether or not this is going to even pass. Right?
I could see this
terrifying.
easily passing with Republican support and every Democrat voting against it. I can easily see that.
And I think we all acknowledge there's really no chance of it passing the House, right? I mean, there's no chance of it passing the House.
Well, it will never be brought up, but if it was brought up, it wouldn't pass.
Right, but I mean, not being brought up is the same as not passing, right? I mean,
the Democrats are, the lines are being drawn. And I said this probably 15 years ago when I started laying out what I thought the world would be like in the future. And I said, there's going to come a time where it's going to be so obvious to some, and you better make sure that you are one of those that it's really obvious. But you're not. They're going to be so far down the track, we're not even going to be able to relate to each other. The divide is going to be so big, we won't be able to reach across and say, come on over here. Let's meet in the middle, because there's just this cavern between us. This is the beginning of that cavern. And quite honestly, I do believe that we are one nation under God. I believe that with everything in me. I believe that we made a covenant with the Lord under George Washington. If we vote to say no, that we don't have to worry about that. Let those babies die. We will not. We will. I think we'll put the final nail in our own coffin of that covenant.
Think about what you're asking a doctor to do with this law. So, like, a doctor is supposed to do no harm, is supposed to do whatever they can to save, to preserve life. But what you're asking a doctor to do is, if the baby comes out and you failed to kill it before, then it's born, it's alive, which it's met all your criteria. It's now viable. It's fighting for life.
no longer an abortion question.
It's not an abortion question, but you're asking that doctor to just kill it. You're asking the doctor to do harm. You're asking the doctor to either watch it die or to do something to further on its death. That's just straight evil. I can't. Roe v. Wade was so devastating because we've compromised, and that's what when you start compromising on the value of life, this is where you get. And this right here will probably be another precedent setter to how far they can push the envelope even further.
That would be
this is the end of us. This will be the end of the good, decent Americans as we know it, because this isn't a slippery slope. We've gone from still talking about reversing Roe versus Wade or just trying to find a happy medium here in the first trimester right over the cliff. And it's happened overnight. Yeah. It's happened overnight.
Also, real quick, I want to throw into the conversation, we're talking about the bill in the Senate and whether or not it's going to pass. Meanwhile, we've got an abortion movie that's coming out that just got an R rating.
So I talked about this today. I've known that this is happening for about a week, and the movie company didn't know what they were going to do, because this will hurt or help, one of the two, will hurt their sales. That's where they originally came off. And they, I knew about it last week because they said, for instance, Mormon audiences are going to have a hard time going to a rated R movie. But this is not a R-rated movie. This, in fact, says everything you need to know about abortion. Stu and I saw this. There's no language in this. There's no swear words. There's no sex. There's no drugs. Obviously, there's implied sex because she's pregnant, but it doesn't really talk about that. Right. The only thing, and the MPAA said, we are making this a rated R movie because of primarily one scene. 3 scenes show an abortion, but the one scene is the one that really has earned it the R rating. And that is a woman who is covered here, and then it's the surgical drape, and then a nurse with a surgical drape over the pregnant belly, and a nurse is holding a sonogram thing, And the doctor is on the other side of the curtains. You can only see him from up here, his face and his shoulders. And he is suctioning out the baby. Now, doesn't concentrate on that. It concentrates on a black and white sonogram image. And you see the baby actually fight to get away from the suction as it's pulled apart in pieces, okay? But it's a black and white, looks like an Etch-a-Sketch. I mean, you're not seeing it. So why would that be rated R? Because if this was about cancer and it showed the surgery and actually showed, let's say it was breast cancer, and actually showed the opening up of the breast and showed the meat inside and showed the taking out of the tumors, that would be heralded as a breakthrough of medicine. That is nothing to be ashamed of. That's to be celebrated. Why is this rated R? The only reason this is rated R is because it's horrifying. When you see that, you know it's a baby. And they want to make sure that a 15-year-old can go into Planned Parenthood without their parents' permission and have an abortion, but no kid should be allowed to come into a movie theater and see an abortion. That's where we are.
And to extend that point a little bit, the doctor who was on set playing the doctor in the movie was an actual former abortion doctor. So you can tell, I mean,
thousands of them.
Did thousands of them, giving real credence to this is realistic. This is what it really looks like. And, look, I can understand why people are disturbed about it. All that is you being honest with yourself. Mm-hmm. That's what that feeling is. That feeling is you feeling, oh my gosh, this is a horrible, horrible thing, and you realizing the truth in that moment.
The Nazis would not have wanted Schindler's List to play.
Yeah, but if it's not a life, as they are, suggesting that it's not a life, or it's obviously not a life worth saving, why would it be horrifying?
Again, just like the Nazis had to convince you Jews were not people. Then, after they said they convinced society of that, they had to convince them that they went to some happy place. They would have never allowed cameras into the concentration camps or done something like Schindler's List and allowed that to be seen because they know the people would have turned against them. They are working against this movie because they know, I'm telling you, you bring your children, you bring any friend, I don't care how hardcore they are, and just watch that one scene, they have no life in them if it doesn't take their breath away and go, what are we doing? What are we doing? This is wrong.
It's the exact same reason Planned Parenthood doesn't show the mothers the sonogram. Yep. And they called the shot in the movie. She actually brings that point up. So I guarantee you the people who were watching this were like, oh yeah, I mean, even if they didn't do it, consciously, it's the same exact principle. They don't want, and look at the age limits that knocks them out of 13 years old to 18 years old. Yeah. They don't want those little girls seeing that.
Mm-hmm. You made the point on radio quickly. I know you said last word, but you made the point quickly.
But you're just going to ignore me anyway.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was telling you. A 15-year-old can go in and get an abortion, and a 17-year-old can't go, or 16-year-old can't go see this movie without parental guidance. Wow. That's insanity. You can actually get the procedure done on you, but you can't go watch a simulation of the procedure. That's telling.
All right, back in a minute.
You can't watch CGI. But you can experience it in real life.
Oh yeah, real life is totally fine.
All right, a lot to get into, but first we want to thank our sponsor, Riduzone. So, if you are one of many Americans who are looking to lose some weight, maybe the last couple years you've let yourself go a little bit.
It's sounding specific again, isn't it?
I don't know
like,
what you're talking about.
Right.
I have no idea.
No idea.
But seriously, weight gain, anything is a big problem here in America. We all know it. I struggled with it myself, and I use Riduzone to maintain. It's worked for a lot of viewers. They came in and shot testimonials, and they were all like, I can't believe I actually found something that really does work. It's not like laced with caffeine where you get the jitters. It is the good molecule in olive oil that they stick into a capsule, and you take it before your meals, and it helps make you full. You don't feel like you're constantly craving ice cream, all that. It reduces your appetite, and it boosts your metabolism. So it works for me. It can work for you. Go to Riduzone.com right now. You can order a 3-pack. That's a 3-month supply. Using promo code BLAZE, you get 30% off. We did the math for you. That's like $1.39 a day. There's no reason not to try it. If you have some weight that you're looking to lose, or like I said, you're just trying to maintain and you're too busy to go to the gym every single day, like me. So go to Riduzone.com right now. Get your 3-month supply with promo code TheBlaze. Stu, you said the Democrats did something.
Yeah, I will say, though, that I like.
Yeah.
I will say, though, that the reason I don't go to the gym every day is also because I'm too busy. I just wanted to make sure.
That's why you don't go to the gym.
That's why I also don't go. So just wanted to make that clear.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, the Democrats have a bill I'm very excited about. I think everyone can get on board with this. It's what I think is basically a violation of the Constitution, which is, this National Emergency Act. They are going to vote tomorrow to try to stop it. And of course, Democrats, because they have absolutely no principles whatsoever, will vote against Donald Trump taking this power. However, they want this power. They want this power more than anything in the world. I guarantee behind closed doors, they are hoping this doesn't work. They have to do a show vote to say that, but they know Trump's going to veto it anyway, and they're not going to be able to override it. The more and more I think of this, and we've kind of talked about it a lot. I've said from the beginning, I think everyone at this table has said from the beginning they don't like this idea of the national emergency. But I think it's really deeper than just this one particular thing here. I think this is the worst example of a national emergency being used for political purposes, in that the Congress just told you couldn't do this, which is really strange because they really could have had this done for 2 years when you had a Democratic or Republican House and Senate. But this is something where they said specifically, no, you may not use this for this purpose. And I think everybody who is a conservative steps back and says, well, it's a really freaking good purpose, and we should have border security, and Democrats are idiots for believing that we shouldn't have that. And I think you're right on that. I say the same thing. However, we also have a system in place, and the system is completely screwed up. This is something I believe not only is what Trump is doing unconstitutional, I believe that the act itself is unconstitutional, along with the same rules that they've implied to give the president the authority over trade. If we all came together and voted, you know what, we don't want the freedom of speech, how would that work out? Would we lose it? No, it comes from God, right? This is a constitutional right. Now, if you amended the Constitution to get rid of the freedom of speech, you could do that. However, the Constitution specifically says things like the power of the purse comes from Congress. Trade authority goes to Congress. You can't write a law that overwhelms the Constitution. We've gone down this road a million times, and they called it something else in another country once, the Enabling Act, where you take where a legislative body says, you know what, I'm enabling this chancellor over here to make all of the decisions for us. And while I don't expect anything close to what happened in that particular case to happen, it's a really bad idea. When Congress has the authority for something that's in the Constitution, we should respect that. And I think the Republican Party would be smart to try right now to go after that authority and try to repeal it all. They won't do it, of course, because they're as spineless as the Democrats are on the other side. And we keep talking about how Democrats have this idea of, well, they're going to use this and go further. The idea that, in theory, Democrats will someday be unconstitutional is not a good argument to be unconstitutional now, because for stuff that we want.
We have possibly, 18 months left in this presidency. Now, that's if the economy goes to hell in a handbasket, because if it
yeah.
stays,
But a maximum
good,
of what, 6 years?
yeah, maximum of 6 years, maybe as little as 24 months, 18, 24 months. If that's true, you do not want to give these people that power. Look how fast they're traveling to the handbasket of hell. Yeah. I mean, they are just off the rails. You cannot give them the power of the purse to the presidency, because then the presidency is the power and the Congress is nothing more than a figurehead.
And we know specifically that the Republicans, including the Trump administration, do not believe what they're doing is legal. He doesn't go ask Nancy Pelosi's opinion and permission to get money for his wall because he wants to do it, because he likes it, because it's fun for him to beg at the feet of Nancy Pelosi. He did it because he knew it was the only legal way to get his money. And now afterwards, he's acting as if, well, I could have just grabbed it this entire time, but I decided not to. It's the same argument Barack Obama made with DACA. He said, I have to get authority. I have to go to Congress. I have to go to Congress. Oh, Congress said no. Well, I'll do it anyway because it's really important to me. That's a terrible argument and not the right way to run a civilization. And, now Republicans, all the people that talked about, including people like Ted Cruz and tons on the right, who I respect on many, many issues, are using the same arguments Democrats used about DACA today to do this. And it's a terrible idea. I hope it gets voted down. But, I think it's going to take the courts to stop it.
May I ask you a question? I agree with everything you said, except this one thing. The Republicans could have gotten it done. Donald Trump could have gotten it done when they had a Republican House and Senate.
Certainly had a better chance. Right?
He had a better chance, but I don't think he could have gotten it done. I really don't. I don't think the people have spoken on the right about this over and over and over and over again for decades, and they never do it. We hire them, and they say, we're the ones that are going to do it, and then they don't do it. In fact, they go the opposite way. So there is no will at all in Congress to do it. So that's where I think people's frustration comes from is, well, we've tried to do it the right way.
Well,
we keep trying to do it the right way. They didn't
even try it, though, he at least could have tried it when the Republicans were in control and had a chance. But the other part of this, and I know you know this, Glenn, just because you want something doesn't mean you get to break all the rules to get it.
Yeah, I know.
Just because, what I really want is no 16th Amendment. I can't just void the income tax with an executive order, because I would have to go through and amend the Constitution to make that happen. There is a process here for a reason. The founders weren't just brilliant because they had sweet wigs and English accents, so they made them very smart.
Sweet wigs,
right? But sweet wigs. It wasn't just that. It was because they set up this process to slow things like this down. Just because a president thinks it's really important, and I agree with that president. That's what's so hard about this. I fully agree. Our border is a real problem. But this is not the way to do it. You can't appropriate funds this way. And I do think eventually it will get shot down in the court. And I hope they throw the whole freaking act out. The National Emergency Act, which is really designed for a minor, a quick thing where he has to act quickly before, the legislation can get together to move something. He is completely overwhelming the spirit of that law. And regardless of that, it's a terrible law in the first place. If Congress says if the Constitution says Congress is supposed to do something, they should have to do it. That shouldn't be a crazy concept.
It was specifically designed so that if the president wanted to do this, there was basically nothing that could stop him. And we've said this before, but it'll get voted tomorrow in the House, then it goes to the Senate. Even if it fails both, then the president still will just veto it. Mm-hmm. Then they'll have to get a 2/3, which they won't get. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. And I like your point on even if you really want to do something, if you cannot enable the government to just say whatever makes it easier, we'll just write it into law to make us subvert and go around. That's not what the founders wanted. The founders created a system that was so ineffective and not stupid, but so ineffective, and it wasn't meant to work cohesively and well. Really.
There's supposed to be a lot of friction points.
It was this thing that existed in a swamp that no one wanted to go to, and it just kind of did its thing. Basically, everyone just kind of running into walls while we went out and did the things that actually really mattered.
Yeah, well, they weren't supposed to do anything.
And if you look at the
entire process was to stop things from getting done.
Any law that actually makes it to where that doesn't work, that actually works well, you can look through and just toss it out, because that's not supposed to be in there.
All right, back in a minute. Jason, I apologize that we have to save Venezuela for overtime. We've got these two guys here that just like Charlie Brown's mom, and we didn't get to it. But luckily, we do have overtime for those of you who have already subscribed to BlazeTV. We also carry overtime on the podcast, so make sure that you subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts and rate us 5 stars. It helps other people see it. And then if you have not already subscribed to BlazeTV, make sure to do that so that you can catch. I mean, Venezuela, this is a big deal, right? This is a huge deal what's going on in there right now. And you don't get to find out unless you subscribe to BlazeTV. So use promo code NEWS to get $10 off of your subscription. And we've got a lot going on. We've got Dianne Feinstein. You guys see what she said to those kids?
Oh my!
I can't wait to get into it.
Their own. I tweeted this weekend about that. I said, this is the night of long nights.